In today's video, I thought I'd make the type of video that me and Keely would have liked when we were planning our trip over to Las Vegas about 2-3 months ago now for WrestleMania 41. This is going to be a general tips and tricks video for people who are thinking about going over to Vegas for WrestleMania 42 next year. And I'm sure there's better people out there more qualified to make this type of video. There's a lot of really good dedicated Vegas YouTube channels out there that you should definitely look up if you're going over. But I'm just going to be covering a lot of questions and thoughts that we had going over that we would have liked to have known before we went. So this is just from our perspective. Some of it will probably apply more to people flying from Europe over to the States. Some of it won't really apply to people who are already in America, but some of it will. So I'm going to kind of break up the video into two sections. One is going to be very Vegas specific tips, tricks, where to stay, prices, stuff like that. And the second half is more wrestling advice, things you can go see, things to do, what's the vibe of the overall city when Mania kind of descends on a city like Vegas. So if you like this video and you learned something new, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Just a quick bit of backstory here. Back in April for WrestleMania 41, Keely and I decided to go over to the States. The main reason for me was because it was John Cena's last WrestleMania. It was my last chance to see John Cena at WrestleMania. I was never going to get to see that again. He's retiring this year and he was going for the record-breaking 17th world title, so it was like this perfect storm of will I, won't I. We only decided a month beforehand that we were going to lock in to go over and do this, so it all came together very quickly. And if you're thinking the same thing, you've never been to a WrestleMania, or you've been and you want to go again, you're thinking about going to 42 over in Vegas again next year, maybe you can learn a thing or two here. Throughout this video I'll throw in clips and photos from our trip gone by and some other footage I found from online. I was planning on doing a vlog over there, but literally the day we landed I dropped my camera and completely broke. So I had thought about doing it on my phone and stuff like that, but I didn't really have storage, the battery's crap, so I never got to do a vlog, so I'll just have to make do with what I got. First up, and focusing more on the Vegas side of things itself, I suppose the most important question of the day is, should you waste your time at all? Should you go to Las Vegas? I feel like you might think going to Vegas is for one type of person, a real party goer, high roller, gambler type who just wants to go out all night, club, party, spend a lot of money, you know, live the lush lifestyle. And of course you can do that in Vegas in a lot of places, but I think it also caters to people that just like spectacle and grandeur. We spent a lot of our time just walking around taking it all in. If you're that type of person who likes to come to a new city, a place you've never been before, and just go exploring, don't even spend any money, just go walking, walk for as long as you want, go to all the nooks and crannies, into every building, every shop, just see what it has to offer. I feel like you can get that from Vegas. There's so many different styles of places compact into a relatively small space that you're never left wanting for a new kind of hit of dopamine. Oh my god, what's this? Oh my god, what's that? Oh, we go there. So I feel like it does cater to that kind of explore. I just want to walk out of my hotel room, pick a landmark in the distance. I want to walk in a straight line and just enjoy. But of course Vegas is also known for living the high life. Do you want to relax by the pool? Do you want to get really drunk? Do you want to indulge yourself on good food? Do you want a luxury 5-star hotel? Do you not really want to care about money and just go all out? It can definitely cater to both lifestyles. Don't let the Vegas lush lifestyle, I have to go there and just absolutely lose the plot of myself, ruin it for you. If you just want to go and have a more chill time in terms of I just want to go, walk, look at the bright lights. If you want to experience this really weird bubble of culture that Vegas is, just want to take it all in, basically the most ultimate form of people watching, but culture watching if you want to refer to it as that, I feel like you should definitely go and you definitely won't regret it. In terms of what you'll need to travel to Vegas, and this applies to all of America, I obviously of course only have an Irish perspective on it, but in general Europeans this applies to a lot of them. Obviously do your research for your specific country. There might be little individual differences for each country, but I've done a lot of research on this and generally across the board it applies to most European countries. I know in Europe we're used to hopping on a Ryanair flight 2 hours to Spain and we're not even thinking about all you need is your passport. But no, for a travel visa to the States, what you'll need is called an ESTA, or more specifically an ESTA form. This is basically just a travel visa to the States. You fill out a little questionnaire, answer a few questions about yourself, what's your purpose of travel, how long you're going, where you're going to be staying. You're basically just telling the US government, look, I'm not here to do anything bad. It's a really simple process. There's a website you go to, you go on there, you apply, you put in all the relevant information. It costs about €20. You send off your form and then in 2 weeks you get back either if you've been accepted or rejected. There's no reason you really will be rejected if you're just going over for a holiday. And your ESTA lasts for 2 years. So if you get accepted and you want to go back to the States, say in 12 months time, you don't have to fill out the form again. The limits of it are basically you can only stay in the country for 90 days. So if you're going on a trip longer than 3 months, you'd have to go through a different route. You'll have to go through a much more formal and official route through the embassy of your said country. But I feel like for most people 90 days is more than enough for the trip they're going on. Be careful out there though, there's a lot of scam websites. I remember the first time I went, not necessarily a scam website, they're basically just a middleman where you pay them €100 say for example, and they'll fill out the form for you and send it off on your behalf. You'll still get your form, it's fine, but there's no need to pay the upcharge. Go directly to the US government website. It's all very easy and simple. It might seem scary and daunting, but it's really not. A bit of advice though, it never really came up, but it's always good to have. I would print off the form or screenshot something and just have that acceptance in case when you're going through customs or you're going through pre-clearance in the airport, you can just show the guy if they're ever asking any questions like that. And apart from that, that's it. Obviously you have your passport with you. A lot of carriers that fly to the States from Europe have an extra option where you'll have to put in your information, like the number of your acceptance form, etc, etc. It's just another kind of safeguard to prove to the carriers and to prove to the US government and customs that you're approved to come into the country. In terms of getting to Vegas itself, now of course I can only speak from an Irish perspective. I've only ever flown from Ireland to Vegas. There's a few carriers that fly from Ireland: Aer Lingus, British Airways, Virgin, and then there's obviously some American-based carriers like American Airlines and United Airlines. In our case, we had a 2-leg journey from American Airlines, but the first leg was flown by Aer Lingus. We landed in Chicago, had to change over, and then we had to fly on to Vegas. So the overall flight is technically operated by American Airlines, but they're basically subletting the duties of getting you over to the first leg of the journey to Aer Lingus. So you have an Aer Lingus flight, Aer Lingus crew, you check in on the Aer Lingus app. So that just is another extra step you have to do. It's not too complicated, it's just another check-in you have to do. Okay, I'll check in on the Aer Lingus flight and I'll check in on the American Airlines flight, the second one of the journey. Now that's if you are getting a connecting flight. There is a lot of direct flights from Ireland to Vegas. It depends on the day you go out. It seems like Tuesdays and Thursdays have direct flights from Dublin to Vegas, but most of the other days are connection flights. If you're having a connection in Chicago, don't worry. American Airlines and Aer Lingus run that route all the time. And when I say literally, you get off the plane in Chicago, you walk out into the terminal, and the next gate over is where your next flight from Chicago onto Vegas is. There's no picking up bags, it's all done. You drop your bags once in Dublin, you don't have to think about it. So it is really simple, I wouldn't worry about that. But obviously a direct flight is preferred if you'd rather. There's not the hassle of that. Direct flight from Dublin to Vegas is about 10.5 hours. Obviously a lot of this information doesn't really apply to places outside of Ireland in Europe, but just doing a quick bit of research for this video, a lot of them are connection based as well. If you're further east into Europe, a lot of them land in London, Heathrow, and then on to Vegas. If you're flying from England, France, Germany, further west into Europe, they'll land in Chicago, they'll land in New York as well, and then move on to Vegas. In terms of price, this could be one of the biggest factors that will turn off people from making the journey. All I can say straight up is do not go through a travel agency. I'll get to the price of hotels later on, but we were looking up because we're thinking about, will we go again for 42 next year? And going through a travel agency is literally double the price of flights and hotels, so just don't do it. It's like with anything, you gotta shop around, you gotta balance. Am I willing to be patient enough to shop around to get a decent price, or do I just want to get it out of the way and pay? You might be limited on carriers in your country, etc., so you might only have one option, but then fit around with days, times, layovers and stuff like that. For us, our flights came roughly to about €600 return, so 300 each way. That include the bags, etc., picking your seat, which isn't terrible. And funnily enough, we did have the connection flight obviously, but direct flights are usually cheaper with Aer Lingus anyway, so maybe that's worth looking into. And that was obviously just economy class, it was a basic seat, so that will be one of your biggest expenses, but if it's worth it to you, go for it. But there's no way you should be paying more than 600 to 800 return. I see sometimes in some specific flights with some carriers going up to 2,000-3,000 for an economy seat. Don't be fooled by that. If you can change your days around, fly a day earlier, come back a day later. Sometimes it's literally cheaper to stay an extra day over there, pay the extra whatever for the hotel, and save like €1,000 or 1,000 whatever on flights. Don't go for these crazy expensive prices. Like, why is an economy price €2,000? In terms of landing in Vegas, it's one of the most convenient places in the world because the airport is so close to the city. It's like a 10-minute drive, which is nice. There's nothing worse than landing in a country or on holidays, you're going for a good time, and you have to spend like an hour getting to where you're going. You just want to get in, check into your hotel, wherever you're staying, drop the bags and enjoy yourself. In terms of actually getting to where you're going, there is public transport in Vegas, but it's notoriously known for not being great. They have buses, but what I can recommend is you either get a taxi or you get an Uber, some sort of ride share. Vegas airport actually has designated areas for taxis and Ubers where you have to go there. You can't just go at the front and get it wherever you want. There's specific areas designated to go, but that's actually nice. It gives you a bit of direction. You won't get lost. You won't feel like, oh god, like where, you're on your phone. Where is he here? No, I'm around the corner. Where are you? You know you're in the right spot. You'll see the group of people there. And Vegas actually has some price control measures in place for taxis. You'll see a board when you exit the terminal that each hotel on the strip or off the strip has set prices, so that way you can't get scammed. If you can see, okay, I'm staying in New York, that's this price, that's what the taxi driver will charge you for that, so they can't scam you, because I know a lot of tourist traps will try scam people. From our experience, the Ubers were a bit different. Their prices kind of fluctuated. If you pull up the app and see, oh, New York, it's $5 cheaper to go with the Uber than the taxi, go with that. But if you pull it up and the cheapest Uber is $10 more than the taxi, go with the taxi. In terms of places where you can stay in Vegas, in this video I'm just going to be looking at hotels. There probably is cheaper options in terms of motels and Airbnbs, but if you're going to Vegas and want that authentic experience, you probably want to go to a hotel. So I'm going to break them up into 3 different categories, and I'm going to give you 3 options for each, so you can choose what suits your budget, what type of trip you want to have, and you can factor in on what's more important to you. Do you want to spend a little less money, be a bit further away from the action and have a bit worse of a hotel? You can do that. Or do you want to pay a bit more, have a bit more luxury and be right in the center of the action? Looking at current prices, the 3 low budget options I can recommend is Circus Circus, Excalibur and the Hilton. We actually stayed in Circus Circus ourselves. We found nothing wrong with it. There's a lot of bad reviews about this place. Is it an old hotel? Could it use a bit of TLC in some places? Yes, but the novelty of it, it's a hotel themed after a circus. It really gives you those old Vegas vibes that you'd see in movies and stuff like that. The biggest downside is probably the distance from the main strip. It's a bit out. If you don't mind walking, go for it. Excalibur is very similar, a themed hotel themed after like a medieval Castle. It's completely at the other end of the strip, so it does suffer from the same problem of being a bit far out from the main action. But again, it is fine. You get what you pay for. If you're not looking to break the bank, you're just looking for somewhere to sleep and also have a really cool themed experience, Excalibur's a good option. And probably the most luxurious option out of the budget ones, looking at prices right now, is the Hilton. I'm not sure why this is so cheap, because it seems way more premium than the other two. I think it's based again off its location. It's not really on the main strip, it's kind of situated to the side of the strip, so it's probably not getting a lot of business compared to the main hotel, so they probably dropped the prices. But if you're looking for the most luxury experience out of the three budget ones, I'd go with this one. But if you're looking for more of a themed, quirky, more Vegas, old Vegas style, I'd go with one of the other two. If you're looking for mid-range options, the three I'd recommend are either Mandalay Bay, New York, or Paris. The big advantage of Mandalay Bay is it's actually right next to the stadium that WrestleMania 42 will be held in. Big downside going against the Mandalay Bay is how far it is from the main strip. It's at the very edge of the strip, so if you don't mind walking, again, great, but you are far from a lot of the main attractions on the strip. There is a tram that can get you some of the distance, but there's no doubt it still is a bit far. Near enough to Mandalay Bay is New York. This was probably me and Keely's favorite themed experience. The whole building, once you go inside, looks like you're on the streets of New York. They got that fake sky. All the buildings and restaurants and shops are themed just like New York streets. It's really cool. And we felt like if we did go back, we probably would pick New York. Again, it's a bit far off strip, so a small downside there, but it's close enough to the stadium that you won't have to walk too far, and I just think the vibes are so cool. Similarly to New York, Paris is themed after Paris. The whole building, there's the Eiffel Tower coming out of the top of it, but once you go into it, it's like you're under the Eiffel Tower on the streets of Paris. And a great thing about this is it's very centrally located on the strip. You can't really get more central. It's bang in the middle. All the good hotels are around you, all the good bars, all the good shopping. So if you're not looking to spend an extortionate amount of money and be right in the center of the action, this one's for you. Now, looking at the high budget options, the three I'm going to go for are Caesar's Palace, the Bellagio, and the Venetian. Caesar's Palace is the most famous Vegas hotel, and it is one of the coolest. Obviously, you've seen it in movies like The Hangover. The outside of it just looks incredible. The theming on the inside is class. It's very centrally located, right in the middle of the strip. It's got so many famous restaurants. Gordon Ramsay, Hell's Kitchen. It's got a massive Buc-ee's sports bar. The shopping center in the inside is huge. They've got the fake sky. Again, you can get lost in there. This is one of those places you'd splash out for if you're going on your honeymoon and stuff like that. It's really cool. Right next to Caesar's, there's actually a bridge connecting one hotel to the other, is the Bellagio. Probably one of the prettiest hotels on the strip. Again, very centrally located and very famous for its fountain show that happens at night time. You've got these light up water shoots going all across the fountain. Everyone gathers around. It's really pretty. It's really nice. And again, it just screams luxury. The inside of it looks amazing. You could just get lost by how big it is. There's a lot of pretty stuff to look at. And then lastly, the Venetian. This hotel is themed after, of course, Venice. They've got the canals running through it, the fake sky again, shopping center in the middle of it. Probably the prettiest hotel there. I think this was Keely's favorite. And again, very centrally located, very near Caesar's and Bellagio. So you can't go wrong with either of the three if you're looking to be in the heart of the action and have a luxury experience. Now, of course, there's other hotels at the cheap, mid, and high price point. These are just the three that I would recommend if you don't want to think too much into it. If you pick one of these, I don't think you can go wrong for each price point. Just to give you some perspective, we stayed in Circus Circus for 5 nights. I think it cost about $500. So that's $100 a night, $50 each night. That's about coming towards €40. So €40 a head a night is nothing, especially for Vegas. Looking at prices for this year, it's still very similar. Stuff like Circus Circus, Excalibur, and surprisingly the Hilton are coming in around the same price for 5 nights. You can almost double it the way you go up. So if you go mid-range, if you're paying $500 for 5 nights in Circus Circus, it's probably $1,000 for the mid-range hotels, and then probably double again. $2,000 or just under that for stuff like Caesars. It's up to you where you want to land. If you got the money splash and you don't care, you just want to live luxury, go for it, but you can't go wrong. You're going to get what you paid for here. If you go on the cheap end, will the rooms be a bit more grubby? Yes, they will. But if you don't care about that, save your money there and go splash somewhere else in Vegas. Don't feel like Vegas is just for high rollers. You can do it on the cheap. In terms of where to eat in Vegas, you're never going to be too far from a restaurant. They of course have all your fast food options, your Five Guys, your Denny's, your McDonald's, but Vegas is very famous for its all-you-can-eat buffets. Most hotels have an all-you-can-eat buffet. You don't even need to be staying there. You just pay in at a certain time, eat what you want. They vary in price from like starting at $30 all the way up to about $200 depending on the hotel. But I would say by and large it is expensive to eat in Vegas. You can of course pick your spots and find spots that are a bit more cheaper than average. Don't expect to pay less than $20 for a meal, and that's not the low end. If you're eating out at any somewhat of a decent restaurant, it's minimum $50 per person. The only way I can really think of around that is if you just stick to fast food. If you really want cheap, go to McDonald's, go to Denny's, Taco Bell. Some people don't really care about that. They just want to go live in a city. Food is fuel to them. But there's also the option if you want to spend $200 on an all-you-can-eat buffet and eat as many crab legs as you want, go for it. In terms of things to do in Vegas, you'll never really be stuck. Basically every hotel runs shows, especially in the evening times, whether it's more of a circus show, more of a play, more of a concert, so they can cater to everyone there depending what their taste is. In the actual city itself, there's not that many paid attractions, but if you go just outside the city, stuff like Hoover Dam, the Grand Canyon, Red Rock Mountains, if you go towards Fremont Street, there's a lot of attractions. You can go ziplining across it. The more traditional paid attractions are probably more outside the city limits. In the city itself, I feel like the main attraction is the city itself. Vegas is a 24/7 city and it's not taboo to walk into anywhere you're not staying. It's kind of encouraged you to walk into any hotel you'd like, any time of day, walk through it, see what that hotel's like. They're so close together, and you might think that sounds really boring, but trust me, these are not like Irish hotels. You're not walking into a lobby and it's just dingy. Like, everywhere is just designed to set your dopamine off. Bright lights, they're all different themed, they all sound different, they all smell different, they all have different restaurants, all have different casinos, and you can take up so much of your time by just walking through and seeing what each one has to offer. And that does bring me to gambling. Before we went, me and Keely did a lot of research because we never gambled before in our life. We didn't know the rules of, like, do you just go up to a slot machine, like, you pay the money, and then, like, if I win, where do I go? It's relatively simple. You just put your money in the machine. If you put $10 in, you get $10 credit, but you can cash out at any point. If you put in $10 and gamble $1, you can just press money, walk out, and you'll get a little slip. You can go over to machine, put it in the machine, and that'll give you your cash back. And say you win 1,000, like, that'll just come out in a little receipt. You'll put that in, you get your money back. Job done. That probably won't happen because the house always wins. And I recommend you do your research beforehand. Keely and I actually watched a lot of videos on how do machines work, because it's not just, you know, match up the 3 fruit and win money. There is a bit to them, but don't let that intimidate you. It really is as simple as just hit the button until you hear an alarm or bright lights go off and you get some money. You're not going to be there long enough. There's no point in learning the intricate systems of what does getting a diagonal mean, what does getting different grids mean and stuff like that. You know, gamble responsibly. Don't gamble with money that you don't have. Don't gamble with money you can't afford to lose. Set yourself a daily budget. I was over there, I lost I think €300. That's fine. People lose that on one spin. And the best thing you can do is gamble in small increments. Don't put in 200 at a time. Put in 10, 20 at a time. You can set how much you're gambling on each spin, so you can bet 50 cents a spin, $1, etc, etc. If you bet 20 on one spin and hit the jackpot, you obviously get way more than if you put 50 cents in a spin, hit the jackpot. But it's more for the fun of it. It's just more you're playing with money, that tease of could you win. But quit while you're ahead. Don't spend too much money. Enjoy yourself. Obviously they have live table games like blackjack, roulette and poker and stuff like that. A lot of places have minimum buy-ins. €20 to buy in, €30, 40, all the way up. You can go to high roller tables. But a lot of places, if you just want to have 1 hand, 2 hand, 3 hands, or sit there for half an hour, play with actual players. Every corner you turn, it's not just the hotels. There was gambling at the airport. There's gambling in McDonald's, everywhere. It'll test your restraint, but enjoy. Fun thing to note, if you are gambling in casinos, the drinks are free. You'll see a lot of people going around asking for drinks. They'll take your order. You can order what you want. You can get a cocktail, you can get a beer, you can get a spirit. Doesn't matter. You don't have to get an alcoholic drink. Just make sure to tip your server. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. $1, $2 is fine. That can be a good way if you're looking for cheap drinks. Sit at a machine or two. Move around to a few machines, do some low spins, you'll get a few drinks out of it. You'll probably, if you were to just go get those drinks at a pub or something like that, you'd probably spend $100. You'd probably spend $50 on the machine, maybe what, $20 on drinks. So you had a bit of fun gambling. Treat that as an activity, then you also had a few drinks out of it. Win-win. I've obviously touched on it a bit, but in terms of the overall cost of Vegas, it is Las Vegas, it is America, it is expensive. Even just the basics, you go into a shop, it could be $6 for a bottle of water and stuff like that. And that's an outside hotel shop. You go into a hotel shop, probably even more expensive. Drinks at some of the hotels, especially the hotel pools, can be crazy. Upwards of like $20 for one beer. This is another place where you kind of have to pick your battles if you're trying to do it on the cheap. You can find specific places that will do discounted options or will do discounted drinks at specific times of the day or happy hour. So you have to balance how much research and how much effort do I want to put in to save money rather than just, I'm just going to sit back and live the high life and just splurge. That's up to you. But yeah, money wise, everything is going to be more expensive. If you want to get souvenirs, it probably will be more expensive. Drinks will be more expensive. Food was probably the cheapest in terms of, like, you know, if you just want snacks, a bag of crisps, chocolate and stuff like that. That was relatively normal. But in general, I would say you at least want $100 for the day. And that's being very conservative. If you got like a McDonald's, you bought a little souvenir, you got 2 or 3 drinks, etc, etc, a few snacks along the way, that's where that would run you. That's at the bottom end though. So do factor that in. You're not going to Lanzarote, you're not going to Albufeira and stuff like that. You're not going to get, you know, really cheap breakfast, really cheap meal throughout the day, €1 drinks. So that's just worth keeping in mind. Moving over to the wrestling side of things, one of the things I was worried about beforehand was, look, I knew there was going to be an invasion of wrestling fans on Vegas, but I was curious, how would the vibe be? Coming from Ireland, there's not a lot of wrestling fans over here. So I was like, am I going to be surrounded by wrestling fans, or am I just not going to find any? But I wasn't disappointed. The vibe of the city was amazing. Everywhere you looked, every shop you went in, every hotel you went in, every casino you went in, there's wrestling shirts everywhere. People with belts, street performers performing songs, everyone complimenting each other's shirts, everyone saying catchphrases, everyone singing. It's one of those things where if you're a wrestling fan, it's almost like a spiritual journey, not to Vegas, but to a WrestleMania. It's almost like you feel, you know, at home, you feel accepted. You feel like, these are my people. Like, I can make a reference to Cena, Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, whatever, pick Undertaker, doesn't matter. And they get it. How far did you come from? Who's your favorite wrestler? And it's just a happy time. Everyone's real happy to be there. People have spent so much money, and this is like the Super Bowl of wrestling, that I feel like everyone's on such a high and such a buzz. So do not worry about that. Even if you're going on your own solo traveling, you're not gonna, you won't be too far from wrestling fans and getting into a discussion and enjoying yourself. And that's another thing, WrestleMania is of course 2 nights now. Me and Keely only went to night 2 of WrestleMania, but for night 1 we went to a WrestleMania watch party, and this was awesome. There's so many watch parties across the city. A lot of them are paid in experiences. Our one actually wasn't. It was inside of a pub inside the Venetian, but it was absolutely packed. Everyone was on their feet. Every screen in there, it's like a sports bar. Every screen was lined with just wrestling. It was just a great vibe. Everyone was chatting. Everyone was getting food and drinks. There's a very famous one, Stadium Swim, where it's on the roof of a hotel with pools on a massive screen. We didn't go for that because I don't want to be at the pool all day, but that's another option to watch WrestleMania. If you're going to Vegas for that event, you don't need tickets to Mania itself. You can get nearly just as good of an experience by just going to a watch party, meeting up with people who just love wrestling all throughout the city. In terms of Mania tickets themselves, ours are about 300 each for not the best seats. You could still see very clearly. Allegiant Stadium, where it's hosted, is very small. That's where it's going to be going again next year. It's not very small, but they've built it in such a way that you're never too far away from the ring. Look, WWE is under flack at the moment for how much they're charging for tickets. Ours are obviously 300. There was cheaper tickets, 200 even further back, but you basically are paying an extra 100 for every maybe 50 rows you're moving up. Front row seats are like 20 grand. Don't do it, lads. If you're going to splash, if this really is an important trip to you and you're going to once in a lifetime, go around the 1,000 mark or something like that. You can get kind of low tier seats opposite the ring at a kind of eye level for that price. There's screens everywhere. 90% of it is for the vibe. But if you are going on a budget and thinking, should I go? Is it even worth it to go to pay 200 for the NAF seats? Do it. There's nothing like it. I can't explain it. Again, it was like a spiritual moment where you're just like, you've never been surrounded by so many like-minded people in terms of what you enjoy. If there's a wrestler there you've never seen and you have to see them, it's really worth it. It's an experience. You're not really going for the matches. You are, and you can see them on the screen, of course, but you're just going for the experience of it, and it's worth it. The stadium itself is quite expensive, but really good popcorn though. Look, if you're planning on going, of course, look up Vegas specific videos. Look up, people have obviously made videos about last WrestleMania, see what it's like. I think I'll split this into 2 reasons. If you're going to Vegas because you want to go to Vegas, skip WrestleMania weekend, not because you won't enjoy yourself, it's just prices are gonna obviously shoot up around that time. You know, they're gonna tourist trap people. So if you're just going for Vegas itself, maybe delay it to a less busy time of the year. And if you're a wrestling fan, look, I've obviously never been to another WrestleMania, so I can't comment on it. And I did hear other people say this that have been to multiple WrestleManias, that something did feel special about Mania in Vegas. I think it was because it's so compact. Everything was relatively close together, that you're never too far from something related to wrestling, or fans related to wrestling, or just being immersed in that experience. And you treat this as a once-in-a-lifetime experience that, do you know what? I'm going to treat myself. That'll be my holiday for next year. Let me book some days off in April. Go on your own or find someone to go with you. Go with us. We might be going again. We don't know. We still haven't decided yet. This video is kind of a way for me to convince myself. If you've got a favourite wrestler, if Cena was your favourite wrestler, you've missed it. I'm sorry. But if you're loving Cody Rhodes, if you're loving Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, I mean, the women are on fire. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Naomi's doing really good right now. Turn your brain off. Don't listen to that logical part and just go and do it. You know, do it on the cheap. Do it for relatively cheap. For me, what flights and accommodation cost me about, it was about 1,100, and then spending money, I can't even remember, but it was under 2 grand, and that's a lot of money. I'm not downplaying how much that is. That's with your tickets to Mania, that's your taxis and your Ubers, that's your restaurants, that's your drinks, that's your souvenirs, that's your gambling, that's you losing money on gambling. You could come out and break even, you could win. Now look, obviously a lot of this doesn't apply to people who live in America that might be 2 minutes away from Vegas, and they can just drive home and spend way less money. If that's you, go enjoy, disregard a lot of this advice. And let me know if you know a lot about Vegas, if you've been there a lot, or you're kind of an expert on the area. I'd love to hear some of your advice personally in the comments. Correct me on some stuff. Maybe I'm wrong, because I know stuff, for example, the Hilton. I would think that was a luxury experience, but it seems so cheap at the moment. What am I missing? Thanks so much for watching. I know this was a long one. I just felt like there was a few points I had to cover. Me and Keely are kind of in this will they, won't they go to Vegas again next year. So I'm kind of excited at the moment. I wanted to talk about it, stir some emotions up. I don't know where we'll land, but maybe I've convinced you to go, and that would be great. I'd love to hear if you've decided, yeah, I learned something new. I really want to go out now. That's it from me, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.